Welcome to the Education System Root channel. This should be a short video. I did a video about the 7 habits of highly effective teens. Excuse me for that. And I did a video about it and broke it down. But this is just a little follow-up because there were a few sections where I marked specifically in here that there was like a whole section. And it was part of the last habit, which again, to remind myself, is sharpening the saw. But it was a section called Caring for Your Brain. And so what I want to do first is just read a few highlighted quotes. And the first one is this: an educated mind is like a well-conditioned ballerina. A ballerina has perfect control over her muscles. Her body will bend, twist, jump, and turn perfectly according to her command. Similarly, an educated mind can focus, synthesize, write, speak, create, analyze, imagine, and so much more. To do that, however, it must be trained. It won't just happen automatically. That was a big quote. Here's a couple other ones. There are countless ways to expand your mind. The simplest, most straightforward approach is to read. As the saying goes, reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. I'm going to pause there and just talk about those two things. A lot of my own personal growth journey has been realizing kind of these two things, that if there's any area that you want to improve on, you need to spend time in that area. And I'm always reminded of kids and how they're like, when are we going to use this? What do we need? Why do we need to know this? And in a weird way, like these two quotes cover that. Okay. I mean, think about that. Do you want to have control of your mind, analyze, synthesize, as he said, speak, create? Isn't that applicable to everything you might possibly do in the future? So we need to be educated. And again, through this journey, I've really realized that the real power in education is teaching students to take ownership of their own learning. Without them taking ownership, we can only poke and prod and pull and do all these things to try to force them to the best of our ability. But ultimately, that's not a recipe for success long term, right? And this just goes back to, as I was reading this, I just remember how much this section seemed to speak specifically to the education system. So again, I highly recommend this book as a whole, but this specific section about caring for your mind or your brain was important. And then just a couple more quotes. Although grades are important, learning is more important. So make sure you don't forget why you're in school to begin with. And this kind of goes back to the idea of, could our current grading system, or the approach of just A's, and I get it. We live in a system where we have to demonstrate mastery. We have to show that they've mastered something for college and all this stuff. And I get it. But it does kind of interest me that it's like I don't know. I've seen a lot of kids who just tell me what I need to get the grade. That's it, right? Let me check off the box. And it's funny. It's like, if I can say that on one hand, how that's a detriment, but I can also say when building habits, you want to know what you need to do. You need to think about checking it off. So it's kind of one of these dualities where our system as a whole just needs to be balanced. I think that's the best word. It just needs to be more balanced. Okay. And let me just do one thing. I think, yeah, I got one more. It's a little bit longer. It just, again, when I read this within this section, I just thought, okay, this is important. You say you can get by without studying, that by cramming and finding ways to beat the system, you can pass. I say you reap what you sow. Can the farmer cram? Can he or she forget to plant crops in the spring, loaf all summer long, and then work real hard in the fall to bring in the harvest? Can you improve your bench press by lifting weights once in a while? Your brain is no different than your bicep. To improve the strength, speed, and endurance of your mind, you must work it out. There are no shortcuts. And to me, that last one that I just said there perfectly illustrates why I'm making this channel. We believe in too many shortcuts. And I know I'm saying this generally, but the system is kind of building itself as we keep adding compromise after compromise, as we keep, lowering the standards, as we keep preaching equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. Like these are important things. They all water down what that just said, right? In essence, it's consistency. It's the daily approach. It's the personal choice of each student to make a decision that they will take ownership of their learning. We are there. I believe we are there to model for them. I mean, that's really what it is. And so again, as I'm growing, I keep wanting to be the person who is modeling a lifelong learning, who's modeling practicing in areas that they want to improve, who's extending the grace needed in certain areas because I might be weak in another area, to recognize that although we need to follow through on a lot of things, we have to learn how to prioritize our strengths. And that's how we find our purpose in life, right? And then if we find our purpose and live in that strength and live in that area and that purpose, over time, we will create success for ourselves or greatness, and it doesn't have to look the same for everyone, but these principles that these books and this idea of success underneath, or habits, or, soft skills, whatever term you want to use, those are absolutely universal to every person in the world, whatever they do. So that should be our focus. Anyway, I just remember I wanted to make sure I made a video that just kind of followed up on that specific section. Again, I feel so passionate about this. I feel like it's transforming my life slowly but steadily. And I've used this analogy before. I don't know if I've used it a lot in these videos, but I can't unsee what I've seen. And because I can't unsee it, I've got to do something. Now, that's what this channel is about. I'm doing whatever I can, these little parts, to just try to disseminate this information and let people, make their choice up. Because again, ultimately, it's like, sorry, I'll use another analogy. It's like getting out of a bad relationship or something. Like, you're the only person who can take the necessary steps to do it. You have to take ownership. I can give the information, I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink. And there's a lot of analogies that just perfectly sum this up. And all that being said, is I do believe that fundamental truths come to the forefront always, right? The idea is, I just believe that the fundamental principles, the habits, the organizational skills, those success principles, they are the underlying universal thing that will ultimately reveal the path for all students. But again, my gut, my anecdotal evidence, my observations, they tell me that we've lost sight of that. And I guess I'll just end with this. I'm just doing what I can do. And my hope is that people find this eventually, and that it gets them thinking. That's the point. Thinking, analyzing. With that said, thank you for your time. And as always, consistent effort over time equals success.